We'll leave it here.
Oh, okay. All right, so first on the agenda today is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone could please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And if I could get a roll call of the members present today.
Kevin Gibbs.
Margot Rain, Kristen Zumar,
Bree Rivera. And then also in attendance.
Chris Rogers with AECom.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have a quorum, so we're gonna skip over the approval of minutes.
Oh, we have a
Take that
quorum.
back. Hi, if you could just announce yourself, Tamara, so we could do that. We're in the middle of the roll call.
Tamara Stoner.
All right, so I believe we now have a quorum. So if we could, get an approval on, should I do them separately or, okay, on the February 2023 minutes?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then can we get a motion to approve the March 2023 minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All approved?
Approve.
Okay, thank you. So the minutes are now approved for February and March. We now have time for the public comments on agenda items. Does anyone here have any comments? If we could restrict it to 3 minutes?
Mhm. Good evening, Phil Gross, 1301 13th Street. A couple of comments. One is pertaining to future projects that will be submitted before the planning board. I understand the state, the county, everybody's got their standards as far as number of spaces to a project, a lot of different things, but I've noticed at least in the last year and a half of some pretty big projects that have been approved. Unfortunately, on the board will be approved, that, again, not necessarily the planning committee, I'm just saying in general. So I asked this commission board to, if you're going to approve a project, use your might and just make it a lot more easier for the residents that are already in the city as far as amount of traffic, noise, and different things like that. So the other thing is, and this will be something that'll be brought up to council, I'm asking for Ms. Batty to be removed from this committee. Unethical behavior postings, voter intimidation, and a whole bunch of other things that there will be a hearing and if necessary, but again, I've asked her privately, now publicly asking, I wish she was here, but to resign. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, my name is Angela Marconi. I'm a resident of the city, but I'm also the Air Quality Division Director at DENREC. So before the March meeting, I had watched the videos from January and February. I wrote an email and sent it the morning of the March meeting, but I don't think it made it through to you all before that meeting. I do have copies here if you haven't received it, although I may not have enough copies. So I just wanted to attend because I was able to attend tonight. So I'm sort of here in a professional capacity, but also, I'm kind of split. But I wanted to make myself available in case there were questions about air quality in the area. And there's some references in my email to different studies that we have conducted. And then just generally to say, if you guys have questions, like, just always reach out to the state agencies, because if you hit someone who can't answer your question, they will figure out who can.
Okay.
And, you know, comments from people kind of making speculation about what state agencies will or will not do, I don't think is, really helpful. So.
Do you have a copy of that letter? So I have to like have it for reference.
I do. I have, I think 5 copies and I have my card if anybody's interested. So I'm gonna run out of.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I'll get a copy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just wanted to make sure I have the copy on hand. Thank you. Do you have anything else or you have one more time actually?
That's all. I mean, if you
Okay.
guys have any questions for me, I can stay till the end. We can talk after. You can always send me an email. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys got the information.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the record, for the planning commission, this wasn't available for your perusal at the meeting where you considered ordinance 536, the River Edge rezoning comp plan amendment. But it will be part of the council's packet when they have their public hearing on the ordinance on May 9th. So the River Edge rezoning ordinance 536 is scheduled for the city council on for public hearing on May 9th. And it'll be on the regular meeting agenda that same evening for a possible vote in this decision.
Okay. Thank you. And we did have a late commissioner. If we could just have you announce your name, please.
Yes, Kiara Fire Reed.
Thank you. Okay, and is there any other public comment? I think you guys are letting people here, right? Going outside. So. No.
Did you want to say anything? If you want to comment or something.
Okay, all right, thank you for checking. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the discussion of comprehensive plan annual report. And for this, I will just ask the commission members if you're working on something in particular, if you could provide an update. I think Margot, you had an update on the meeting.
Yeah.
Schedule.
He's on for the May meeting, so he will come and do a presentation.
And who's he again? So we have. him on
I
record.
think it's Sean, I think it's,
O'Neill.
thank you.
Okay.
I don't even need to talk.
Okay.
So, yeah, Sean O'Neill's gonna come. He has a presentation for us about comprehensive plans.
Okay. All right.
And planning commission, so that should be great.
Okay, I appreciate you following up on that. Kristen, did you have an update on?
I don't have an update, sorry.
Okay, and Tim, you weren't working on anything, I believe, correct?
No, ma'am.
All right. And I don't think either of you have any specific projects. Okay, so we'll move on for the good of the order, and I'll ask Chris Rogers to provide any updates that he has.
You probably know this just from following news through the city, but just in case you don't, the things that were in front of the planning commission. I mentioned River Edge ordinance 536 that's being considered by the city council on May 9th. The battery, that was that special exception for multifamily development on West 7th Street. You had made a favorable recommendation, and that was approved by the Board of Adjustment for a special exception and 3 or 4 variances on December 22nd, 2023, and that has been appealed to court. So that decision by the Board of Adjustment, you made your recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. They made their decision on the special exception and the variances, and now their decision is being appealed to court. So just wanted to give you an update on that.
Who is it what court does that go to? Just for my edification?
I don't know because I'm not an attorney. Superior Court, perhaps?
Okay, so it goes to a Delaware,
No,
Yes.
Not Superior Court.
Okay.
I,
so basically they're being sued, is what you're saying? Over that ordinance, is that what you?
I don't know the legal term. I wouldn't. Maybe sue is the appropriate term. The decision of the Board of Appeals of the Board of Adjustment go to court.
Okay,
And the city has to prepare verbatim transcript. It's court proceeding. So
Okay.
Another project that was in front of you, 702 and 706 Delaware Street. Again, that was a special exception for multifamily in the DG zone, 32 or 36 units. You had found the plan to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Board of Adjustment heard the case on March 30th, and they approved it for 24 units. And so just want to give you an update on that.
Again, for my edification, can you explain why the reduced number?
It was the board's decision.
Okay.
It was a long evening. I have to read the minutes. They were just, one of the members felt that they were,
There's too many units.
yeah,
Okay.
you just have to read the minutes. I don't want to
Okay.
speak and get on record and try to put reasoning on the board member.
Okay.
You probably have seen, but the Sea Level Rise Task Force is having a workshop on May 10th to provide information on floodplain, flood insurance, sea level rise. Keep an eye out for that.
So that's like a public meeting, you said?
Yeah, it's a public workshop. I believe is it going to be at the senior
Senior
center?
center, as far as I understand, yes.
Yeah, it's on the,
City council.
I saw it, I don't know the calendar yet. But I think they're going to be doing some mailings and some.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Advertising.
I don't remember seeing that, but I meant.
I attended my first Sea Level Rise Task Force meeting last week, so it was my first introduction to them, so I just.
Chris, is that like the workshop is directed to the homeowners or property owners? Is that correct? Versus like not something for the sea level rise
Committee itself?
committee and stuff, yeah.
There will certainly be discussion about sea level rise and the potential impacts of floodplain, but I believe that their intent is to mostly educate people on floodplain, flood insurance. Jeff Bergstrom, city staff, he's not going to be able to be there. He is the official city floodplain manager. And in the past, when they've had these types of workshops, Bedrock has websites where you can type in your address and it will direct you to your property and whether or not you're in the floodplain, and you can print out a little plot plan of your house location. And that's sort of live, I think they want me to be there to do that in Jeff's stead. So for that, I know there's at least one component is directly related to educating people about whether or not they're in the floodplain. There's going to be people from other agencies that could speak more directly to the city's floodplain ordinance and their program. That's very interesting stuff that you guys, should know about at some point as planning commission members, because you get the battery project was in the floodplain and it had to be elevated a certain level, and staff will make sure that and you're gonna see it again as a site plan. So you'll learn more about floodplain regulations in the city. But I understand the workshop, at least one component of it is going to be just, are you in the floodplain? Are you not? Talk to this person about flood insurance, that kind of thing.
And May 5th is a Friday?
May 10th.
May 10th is what he-
May 10th, okay. So it's a Wednesday. Oh. Okay.
I saw an advertisement in the weekly, but I don't see it on the city website yet. And Sean O'Neill is the president of the Delaware chapter of the American Planning Association. So he's a good person to have come talk to you. So that's all I have, Chair.
Okay,
I have a question. Will that be on the meeting agenda? Sean talking.
it'll probably be on the agenda for next month. We'll
Yeah.
Post that, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
And so if that's all you have, we can move on to comments from commission members. Does anybody else have any additional comments or things they'd like to talk about today?
I just wanted to get clarification from you, Chris, because you worked with us before on our projects. We don't approve projects, we recommend them for approval, is that correct? We recommend or we don't recommend, as for, like, we don't approve that, I just want the jargon, the terminology to be accurate
No,
in regards,
both.
okay,
So your sort of baptism as a relatively new planning commission, you know, I'm speaking generally for everybody. You've had a very unusual set of projects. So for the River Edge, for example, that was or is a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezoning. Your role as a planning commission in that capacity is to make a recommendation on the rezoning and comprehensive plan amendment to the city council. If it's approved, they're gonna come back with the site plan, and that is you.
okay,
And the ordinance, and this is public information, the ordinance is written that if it's approved, they will have to come back with a site plan that is substantially consistent with the exhibit that you saw, you know, a dozen times. So the zoning ordinance was amended probably, you know, a little bit of over a year ago to revamp the site plan requirements. So we wrote it that you are still the deciding body on site plans, but they also now have to be, like they do in the county, they have to be also approved by city council.
Okay.
But it's, there's a legal term for it. It's not, they're not there to second guess you. You know, if you find it consistent with the zoning ordinance, then it's, I don't mean in a derogatory term, but it's the council's role to rubber stamp your approval. They can remand it back to you if they have questions, but their role is not to second guess or tell the developer to move the street here. It would be their role to remand it back to the planning commission with questions. So I consider your role as in relative to site plans as more or less the approving body. You know, that's your wheelhouse. And the same with subdivisions. We don't get a lot of subdivisions in an urban environment, but if we happen to get a subdivision where somebody wants to create a bunch of lots, that is a planning commission role to approve or deny that subdivision. And the two special exceptions that you made recommendations on, the Board of Adjustment approved those special exceptions and the variances, putting the court issue aside. You know, those were approved by the Board of Adjustment. We're going to come back to you as site plans. So, you know, in those three examples, River Edge and the two special exceptions, you already have concept plan. You've already seen a concept plan of what they're going to do. And in River Edge, if council approve it, then they're going to have to submit a site plan that's relatively consistent with the concept that you'd seen, and that it's an exhibit to the rezoning ordinance. And same with the special exception. The Board of Adjustment approved a special exception for a building in that location of a certain size and certain parking spaces. So when they resubmit that to you, it's going to have to be consistent with that. So, but if it's not a rezoning and it's not a special exception, it just comes right to you as a site plan.
okay.
And you have the approval authority over it. And the council's role is perfunctory.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of authority. You just, the three things that you've received, or 3 or 4 things, you've been acting in your recommendation capacity. And one last thing, I'm going to give it a plug, because Sean will probably say the same thing. The comprehensive plan, even though that has to be approved by city council, obviously, that's really a document that's prepared by a planning commission. So think of it as your Bible, your document that you, every 5 or 10 years, you're gonna have to, create.
Anybody have any other comments or questions? All right, I guess we can move on to adjourning the meeting.
One motion to adjourn the meeting.
There's a second.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. Might have been the shortest meeting on record.
Let's see. Let's see.